Hi everyone, and welcome to the Knit California podcast. My name is Leslie. I'm Knit California here on YouTube and also over on Instagram and TikTok, and today is episode 5 of my 2024 podcast series. Do you see Rocky laying on the pillow back there? He's too cute. He got a little shaved haircut, but he's still so cute. Okay. Podcast. This week is a little bit different. Today is Saturday, February 10th. I've been filming most of my podcasts on Sundays, but we've got a family event tomorrow, so I'm not going to be able to film it tomorrow. So instead, you're getting it a little bit early. Last week's you got a day late, this week's you're getting a day early, and in between, I have done knitting, but I have to be honest, I only completed one of my goals this week. And we're going to talk about why, but I'll just show you. You see all these X's and one check mark? Sometimes that's just the way it goes. Alright, we're going to talk through some of it, at least the projects that I worked on this week, just to set expectations. I did not work on my cardigan. I have the second sleeve and the body left to go, and I did not work on my sweet shop blanket at all, so I'm not going to be talking about those. The first project that I want to talk to you about is my Ingrid sweater. So I am knitting up the Ingrid sweater by Petite Knit. Yes, it's looking really good, but we're gonna talk about it. The yarn that I'm using is Treehouse knits in the colorway Harvest Moon on her Dove DK base. It's a 100% superwash merino. 246 yards per 100 grams. This yarn is super soft, and I just want you to look at the butt here. You see how twisted this yarn is? It's so interesting. I don't know, like, the twist has to have something to do with it, but this is softer than like a lot of the hand-dyed superwash merino yarn that I've used in the past. So, and it's like really drapey too. And I'm loving working with it. And yeah, here is the progress that I've made so far. So for this week, I wanted to do the collar, and I wanted to get one more repeat onto the body. I did not get that done because I spent almost all of this week working on the collar. And yes, it does look really good, but I don't think it fits. When I finished the collar, let me back up. The way that I picked up this collar is I did a crochet chain around the whole neckline using a 4mm crochet hook, okay? And then I picked up all the stitches from that crochet chain using a 3mm needle, and I started knitting the 1x1 rib. The first time I started knitting this, I recognized, and I can put some photos up, I recognized that the inside, or the wrong side of my 1x1 rib was looking way neater compared to the outside or the right side or the side that we would be seeing of my 1x1 rib. And I know why this happens. We talked about this extensively in one of our workshops on the Irish knitting tour. It was the workshop with Carol Feller. She talked to us about cables, and this is a huge thing when you're going from a knit and you're going into a purl stitch. The amount of yarn that you use for each of those stitches can be different depending on how you go into that purl stitch. So for me, I knit English style, so I hold the yarn in my right hand and I kind of throw it around the needle. And so when I do a purl, it's kind of the same thing. Basically what's happening is I'm using more yarn on my purl stitch than I'm using on my knit stitch. There is a way to fix this. Like, I can change the way I do a purl stitch, basically wrapping it like under, like from below the needle to above the needle, instead of wrapping it from above to below. I don't think I'm explaining this very well. I know there are tutorials on YouTube, you can look one of them up to see what I mean by this. But so I could like go through and change the way I purl when I'm doing 1x1 ribbing, but I tried in the workshop that we were in and it just wasn't comfortable. It wasn't coming naturally, so I just decided like I'm not going to spend time doing this now. So anyways, all of that to say, I had noticed this on my 1x1 ribbing and I wanted the side that was looking nicer to be on the outside. So I frogged, I had knit like half the collar, I frogged it all back, I picked up the stitches again and I started knitting inside out. Basically, I picked them all up the correct way and then I turned my work like around. I slid the last stitch that I picked up, I slid it over to my right hand needle. I moved the yarn around to the back, sort of like a German short row, but I didn't go up and over. I just moved the yarn around to the back. And then I just started doing knit one, purl one, kind of going the opposite way. And then when it was time to fold the collar over, I again turned it, slipped one stitch back over to the other side of the needle, and folded this down in the correct orientation. So look how nice my 1x1 rib looks. It looks really pretty, doesn't it? But the issue I had is I tried it on and I could barely get the neckline over my head. And I was like, oh, this is a problem, it's gonna be too tight. Immediately I had friends responding to my Instagram story and they were like, block it, block it, block it. So I did a full wet block of this. I haven't tried it on since, but the main thing I'm noticing, and I think you can see it, is look at the cross hatching section. And can you see how from here to here, it's like this whole section is really being pulled up. So I'm pretty sure what happened is when I did my crochet chain, that really pulls the neckline in a lot and it's tugging up and it's pulling in the whole neckline. So I don't necessarily think I like the look of how this cross hatching section looks. I would like for it to be more, you know, flat, really not pulling in. It looks great over here, right? It looks nice and even. So that's what I want it to look like. So I really think I'm going to pull it all out. I don't know if I will redo a crochet chain. If I do, I'm definitely going to need to go up a hook size. I did use a 4mm hook, like I said. I would probably need to go up to a 5mm at least, especially because I don't have a 4.5mm. But I think I would need to play around with it to make sure that the crochet chain is not pulling in as much as this. This crochet chain method I learned from the Dear Duomo sweater by Sung-Hee Hong. She's at Sung-Hee Knits, and it makes for a beautiful pickup. Like, especially look at the back here. Just look how beautiful that pickup is. It looks really nice. And I think even just the pickup, the join here looks beautiful all the way around. So I really like the look of it. Sometimes, especially with drop shoulders and this kind of construction, when you're picking up stitches for the collar, if you don't have the crochet chain, at least what I've seen in the past for my sweaters, is sometimes I see holes, you know, especially along this like diagonal side here where you are doing increases to build up your stitches around the front of the neck, and the crochet chain completely eliminates any sort of holes like that. So that's one of the reasons why I would like to keep the crochet chain. I think I just did it way too tight. So I'm gonna attempt to put this on. It's still on stretchy cords and I've tied them, so I should be able to get this on, and we'll see how it looks. See, yeah, it's really tight. Gosh. Pull the back down. Okay. The other thing is, just look how it sits. See, I've got it all the way on. Yeah. Okay. This is not how I was imagining. This is not how I was imagining the neckline to sit. Like, I don't want it to be up. I just wanted it to be, you know, like down here. So, and you can definitely see, I don't even have, you know, once I continue knitting, I add the sleeves, the whole thing is going to pull down just with gravity and the weight of everything. And you can definitely see how this section, these crosshatch little cables are pulling up. So, I already did it twice and I'm going to have to do it again, and it's okay, it's okay. We want to make sure that we are knitting garments right the first time, even if we have to frog them multiple times to get them to that point. So it will totally be worth it when it's done. It's just kind of annoying while you're knitting it. But let's take a moment to appreciate how good the rest of this looks. I mean, look at my seed stitch. You can see the eyelets opening up. My 2x2 rib looks great. The mock cable section, you know, minus this part, let's look over here. It looks really good. And it's fitting under the arm. So this makes me confident that my sleeves will be great also. And you can see how far down the drop is going to go for the drop shoulder, which is really cool. Probably not that far, I don't know. So anyway, that's all the work. I literally spent like 2 full days working on this week, and I want to say it was all for nothing, but it's not all for nothing because we learned something along the way. So it just means that my progress on everything else was less because I spent so much time on this. Anyways, okay. The last thing I just want to point out with my Ingrid sweater is, I don't know if you could like notice this, but look how drapey this yarn is. This is such a nice base, like I was telling you before. I absolutely love it. So again, it's the Dove DK from Treehouse Knits, and I have more to tell you about Treehouse Knits at the end of the episode. The sneak peek is that her winter tonals are now live on her website. They went live today for me, Saturday, February 10th. Yesterday for you if you're watching this on Sunday, February 11th. And she's got some really, really amazing tonal colors that would look really great as an Ingrid sweater, if you're interested in also knitting one up in that Dove DK base. Okay, let's move on to one of the only goals that I did complete this week and talk about my Oslo hat. Okay, so my goal for this week for my Oslo hat by Petite Knit was to fold the brim, and ta-da, we did it. Yeah, oh my gosh, this camouflages so well with my current sweater. That's so funny. Both of these yarns actually are from Paisley Knits. The yarn that I'm using for my Oslo hat is the colorway Poseidon on her Crabby DK base. Again, it's a superwash merino yarn, 246 yards per 100 grams. And let me just show you, so last week, this is where we were, and actually it's going this way. So this is how much progress I made. This is how much progress I made this week. Oh, Rucky's on the move. What are you doing, Ruck? Oh, you're gonna lay right there? He's like obsessed with this yarn. It's the alpaca sport yarn. He loves it so much. Rocky, what are you doing? Okay, we're just gonna let him do what he wants to do. But yeah, so this is how much progress I made in the last week. I am very happy that I hit this goal. I'm making good headwinds. I don't know. I'm making a lot of progress on this, and I really think I could finish this week, because at this point I've got about 50 rows left before I hit the crown decreases, and then it goes by really fast. And especially, like, this is perfect knitting for when I'm reading, and I'm still reading Sarah J. Maas, Crescent City 3, House of Flame and Shadow. I'm like 75% done now. See, this is a long book, but I could like sit and read and like knock this out this week probably. But yeah, it's going really well. I'm really happy with it. I think the fabric density that it's making is really nice. I'm a little worried. I'm a little worried about the size because I added on 8 extra stitches, but I think it's gonna be okay. Just putting it on my head. It is like a little loose. I do have a bit of a smaller head. This is gonna be for a male who definitely has a bigger head than I do, so I think it should be okay. And I talked last week about how I'm using only one strand of DK weight yarn for this, where typically in the past when I knit Oslo hats, I'll use 2 strands of fingering weight yarn held together. With using only one strand of DK weight yarn, I just needed to make sure that the density in the fabric of this hat was going to be good and enough, and that it would stay folded up when I flip the brim up. The last time I knit this hat in just a single strand of DK was for my husband, and I did not make sure the fabric was dense enough, and it's super floppy and the brim does not stay folded, and it's huge. So he still wears it. It works fine when it's on his head, but it's not how it's supposed to be. So the long and short of it is that this coming week I'm going to have my goal be to finish these 50 rows, get to the decreases. The stretch goal will be to finish the whole hat, so we'll see. This week coming up, I have to be in the office like 3 or 4 days out of the week, so my knitting time is going to drop severely. So we'll see what knitting actually happens this upcoming week. Okay, the next thing I want to talk to you about is my Field Day cardigan by Ozetta. Okay, so I didn't make as much progress as I wanted to on my Field Day sweater. This pattern is by Ozetta. Let me show you the yarn that I'm using. Is this gorgeous color from Ruby and Roses. It's called Willow, and this is on her Rose DK base, which is an 85 15% superwash merino nylon, 246 yards per 100 grams. Let me take the ball band off and show you how beautiful this color actually is. I loved it because of all these pinks, but you can obviously see the yellows that are coming through and the green and blue speckles. I think it's just gorgeous. And this is based off the song Willow from Taylor Swift, her Evermore album. Ruby and Roses, Taylor Swift themed yarn pre-order collection is now live as you're watching this. It went live February 10th, 6 p.m. Central Time, Eastern, 6 p.m. Eastern Time. And it's going to at least be open through this whole weekend. I believe it will also be open longer, but if you're watching this now, today, Sunday, February 11th, go check if you have been wanting to order some of this Ruby and Roses Taylor Swift themed yarn, because it's up for sale now. Okay, anyways, getting back to the cardigan. I finished the back panel. You may remember I had 4 rows left, so yay. I steam blocked it also so that we can actually see what it looks like. Give you a closer view of what this colorway looks like. It's so gorgeous. And then I have picked up for the right shoulder, and I've done like 4 rows, maybe more now. Yeah, this is like 6 rows. You can see here's where I picked up, and that's how much, I mean, you can see the pickup line pretty nicely. And I started working on the little collar as well. So it's an interesting construction that I have now done a couple times. It's very similar to the construction of this cardigan that I'm wearing. This is the Cal cardigan by Claire Jackson of Perfectly Knotted. But basically, for the Ozetta, if you've done another Ozetta pattern where there's like an attached collar, it's the same construction. So like the Moonset tee is very similar, where you start knitting the collar just on its own, and then you attach it to the rest of your work. And then eventually, once you knit the whole front right side, then you're going to come over, you're going to knit this out a little bit longer, and then you're going to attach it to the front left pickup, and then eventually at the end you'll sew down this part in between. It's a little complicated, but when you follow the instructions and you do what it says, you eventually get it done, and then it makes sense. I remember knitting the Moonset tee, and I was just like, I have no idea what is happening in this pattern, but I just need to follow the instructions. And I was talking with my friend Christine about it like months later when she was knitting the Moonset tee, and I was like, Christine, I cannot explain it to you other than just follow like each sentence in the instruction step by step by step, and you'll get it. And she was like, okay. And then she did, and she was like, you're right. That was crazy. So anyways, but yeah, so this is where we're at. We're gonna be knitting the front right. Let me see if I can. There's my back panel. Oh, this is not. This actually goes in the back. So this just looks like a lump. Okay, never mind. Never mind. But this is what it's looking like. The front panel. I'm really here just to show you the back panel and that it's done. So, okay, there's my field day cardigan. The goal for this week is going to be to finish the right panel. Stretch goal to also finish the left panel. That was my goal for this week. We're just keeping it going. So yeah, okay, while I have you here and we're talking about Ruby and Roses and we're talking about Taylor Swift, I'm just gonna flash up some of the other colorways that you can shop in this collection that is live right now. There are so many amazing ones. My goal, my thought is that I eventually want to knit a Taylor Swift themed blanket. I want to do little squares, maybe something similar to the Sweet Shop blanket, but like I want each square to be like a full color. I haven't fully decided on a pattern yet. That was just kind of like a thought, is maybe something similar to the Sweet Shop. I don't know. But so I'm gonna start collecting yarns from like all the Taylor Swift collections that come out to add to this blanket. So I'm starting with Ruby and Roses. I have got a couple picked out that I know I definitely want. Reputation. I want Out of the Woods on sock and mohair. I want Wonderland on sock and mohair. I'm thinking of maybe getting Enchanted, maybe Love Story. I'm not sure on all the other ones yet, but those are some of my thoughts. I think having some squares in like a blanket be fuzzy while other ones are not fuzzy will be kind of fun. And I just really loved the way the mohair was turning out on both Out of the Woods and Wonderland. So that's my thoughts. And there's a mini skein set that I also really like, so that might be coming into my cart as well. We'll see. But I have an affiliate link to shop all of these colors. I should also tell you that the willow skeins that I have, 3 of them were gifted, 3 of them I purchased for being an affiliate. So if you are interested in shopping, I would love if you would shop through my affiliate link. It's no extra cost to you, but it does provide me with a small commission percentage. So I really appreciate it whenever you shop through any of my links. Okay, next up I want to talk to you a little bit about the Farnham Sweater. Okay, so the Farnham Sweater is by the Knit Pearl Girl, and the yarn that I'm using for this is Dusty Yarn Co. I love this yarn so much. The purple colorway is called Shook, and the white colorway is called Baby Beach, and these are both on their classic alpaca sport base, which is 100% baby alpaca, 3-ply, 291 yards per 100 grams. It's so soft, it's so drapey. You have to try this base, it's just so good. And my goal, again, was to finish the back panel. This has been my goal on the Farnham Sweater for like the last 3 weeks. Hasn't happened, but I did make progress. And I steam blocked this for you also, so we can actually see what it looks like. It's looking so good. I love it. And here's where I was last week. I've done like 2.5 of these purple stripes. That's like 10, 20, 25 rows. That's pretty good. So I'm happy with it. It's coming along. I do have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, like 35 more rows left to do before the back panel is done. So I don't know if it probably won't be done this week, but I'm just gonna keep showing you all the progress that I'm making. This is one of my favorite projects that I have on the needles right now. I love the colors. I love the yarn. It's different from all the other yarn that I'm using, so it's really nice to have a little bit of a break. This is also the project that I have on the smallest needles, using 4mm needles right now, and you might be thinking that is not small, and I would tell you everything else is on 4.5 or 5mm needles, so for me it's a little small. Anyways, I should also tell you, so I was looking at my row counter. The last video that I posted, it went up on Thursday earlier this week, was a how-to tutorial on how to use the Twice Sheared sheep row counters. So if you're interested in learning more about these that I show on like every podcast, I talk about them all the time. I have one of them on almost every single project. You can go check out that video. And I also have an affiliate link to shop Twice Sheared Sheep if you're interested in checking them out for yourself. So there we go, that's that. I know I'm not telling you the stats really on any of my projects this week. I will get back into that probably next week or the week after when I have more progress. I feel like, you know, I only did 20 rows on this. It's not, I don't really feel like I need to go through all of the stats. Because it really wasn't that much progress. Like, the look of this from how you saw it last week to how you're seeing it this week didn't really change. So All of the stats are in my previous video if you need to go back and see like what size I'm knitting, what needle size I'm using, all of that stuff. You can go back and watch one of the last videos, one of my last podcasts, and I will bring that back on future videos as well. Okay, the last thing I want to talk to you about is just to spend a little bit more time on the Treehouse Winter Tonals collection, because since I am an affiliate with Lauren now, she did send me a little package with 4 skeins. Oh, they're so good. Hold on. There we go. With 4 skeins from the Winter Tonals, and I just wanted to show these to you in a little bit more detail. Let me start with this one. This is in the colorway Renewal. It's this lovely minty seafoam blue-green, and I think it's really gorgeous. This is on her new Sassafras Alpaca Sport Weight base, which I'm pretty sure is basically the same base that I'm using for my Farnham sweater. It's got the same specs, 100% baby alpaca, it's a 3-ply, it's 291 yards per 100 grams. It feels the same, and so if you're looking to try this base, you can also get you can also try it out on the Treehouse Knits Winter Tonals that are live right now. And then she also sent over 3 skeins of her new Magnolia brushed merino base. This is a 90% extra fine superwash merino wool, 10% nylon, 164 yards per 50 grams. It knits up to about a worsted/Aran weight gauge. And these are 3 of the colors. So we've got Renewal. This is the same as the Alpaca Sport. This dark blue is called Solstice. It's a beautiful deep navy blue. And the green is called Eden, which is really, really nice. So I actually purchased 5 more skeins of this one, of the Magnolia brushed merino on this colorway Renewal. I wanted to try to get my finger under there so you could see the thickness of this. I'm thinking, so when I have 6 skeins, I'm thinking of knitting up like an open gauge cardigan, something that would be fluffy and maybe cropped a little bit, but just like a really nice like outer cardigan layer. Can't you see it? It'll be so good. The other yarn that I have already purchased from this collection is I got 3 skeins of the Dove DK. That's this base that I was talking to you about on the colorway Bat Free Layer. It's this dark, deep purple. It's so pretty. My thought is to save it and to hold that colorway as stripes in some sort of sweater in the future. I would love like a cream base for like the main color, and then to use the purple, dark purple, as stripes as a contrast color. So in some future collection, I'm sure there will be a neutral that will go really nicely with the purple. So that's what I'm holding out for. So yeah, again, I have an affiliate link to shop the Treehouse Knits Winter Tonals collection that is now live on her website, so you can click the link in the description box below if you're interested in checking those out. Okay, let me just, as we close out this episode, talk to you about just knitting thoughts and dreams and plans and whatever. Like I mentioned, I've got a really busy week coming up, and my knitting time is going to be less. So my thought is, in my journal, I'm gonna, copy down almost all of these goals into this next week, even knowing that I probably won't complete all of them again. I talked about this last week, but I'm really liking just the options of having six projects available to me to pick up and knit at any time. and I have the little goals for each project, so it's like I can work on whatever I want. I've got, you know, bite-sized goals to complete for each of these projects, so I'm not limiting myself in what I can work on, which is great. It's a great spot to be in. And again, if I'm not finishing these goals, like, that's okay. They're just moving to the next week. So I'm still really enjoying the process that I have put in place for myself. And let's see, the other thing I wanted to talk to you about is I'm getting the itch to rearrange my yarn stash. I know we talked about this at the very beginning of January, and I was like, I need to rearrange it, but I just like wasn't in the mood. I'm getting the itch to do it. I really want to pull out my like spring and summer non-wool yarns that I have that are all the way in the bottom. I want to pull those out and bring them up to the top. I also want one of my top cubbies to be like my Make 9 yarns, so that I've got all of those in one spot and kind of like more visible, so I know like what I need to cast on soon once I finish one of these projects that I've got going. So that's kind of the, oh, and I also want to take, right now I have a full cubby on the bottom also for my scrap yarns, and I want to take all of my scrap yarns out of my cubbies and put them in like a vinyl bag or something, so that I have more room for like the full skeins, because I've got some on the top and I really don't want to be keeping my full skeins on the top. Eventually I want to do some sort of blanket or scrappy sweater or something with my scraps, but I'm not in the place right now where I'm ready to start that. So I kind of just want to make more room in the cubbies for regular skeins instead of my scrap skeins. So I don't know if I'm gonna film that. I would like to, but it's really difficult to like get the camera into this corner, and thinking about filming it makes me want to do it less. If that makes sense. It just stresses me out to think about filming it while also, and like making sure the shots are all good, you know, as opposed to like I can just take all the yarn out and then put it all back in. I don't know, so we'll see. We'll see if that becomes a video. I don't know. I'm not going to promise anything, okay? But I think that's it. I think those are all my thoughts and feelings for this week. Yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you're not subscribed already, please hit that subscribe button. I would love to have you join the community. Go over and follow me on Instagram if you would like to see more daily activities going on from me. I share a lot in my stories on a daily basis. And that's it. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you on the next one. Bye!
Thank you.